Of Marvel reintroducing the leader, let's take a look at some of the plot holes Marvel sneakily fixed. One of the biggest complaints from the Avengers is how it doesn't make sense that Thanos gave Loki the Mind Stone. However, on Loki's official MCU profile on the Marvel website, it was revealed that Thanos had the Mind Stone actually controlling Loki, so that he would be more ruthless against the Avengers, which kind of explains why he's much more evil in this movie than compared to his other appearances in the franchise. And in Thor, in his attempt to stop Loki, he destroyed the Bifrost, making travel between worlds impossible. However, come Thor the Dark World, the impossible was achieved and the Bifrost was fixed. In Avengers, it doesn't technically count because Thor had Odin use dark energy to get him to Earth, but Marvel fixed this plot hole by explaining it in Thor the Dark World Prelude comic, by having Thor and Heimdall use the Tesseract to make the Bifrost burn once more. And finally, the most iconic fix. In Thor, which came out in 2011, for a quick second you can see a completed Infinity Gauntlet, which doesn't make sense because Thanos wouldn't have that until like years later. However, this was all addressed in Thor Ragnarok by Hela saying, well, it was a fake. Alright, and that's all for today. Follow for more.
Y'all, Marvel just proved one of their dumbest plot holes ever, and let me explain why. We all remember in Avengers Infinity War that Doctor Strange said that out of the 14 million possibilities, of fighting Thanos, the Avengers only won one in the MCU. But if you watch the What If show, which I didn't because it's probably garbage, but the What If Season 2 that came out, and even the first season, Thanos has died multiple times to different people, which basically shows you that Thanos could have died in multiple different ways in the MCU. Out of 14 million possibilities, there is multiple different things that could have happened. Doctor Strange could have gotten people from the multiverse. Thor could have gone for the head. Wanda could have finished him off in Endgame as Thor actually was, destroying the ships in the air so they didn't disrupt her, killing Thanos. There's multiple different ways it could have happened, and we're literally seeing it play out throughout the multiverse. So you mean to tell me that this specific version of Thanos in the MCU somehow couldn't die to anybody on the Avengers, even put together, when we've seen Wanda nearly kill him, Thor nearly kill him, Doctor Strange had the potential to do so, he has access to the multiverse, etc. Wong knows about all the mystical arts and different things he could have done as well, and nothing could have killed Thanos, but they're showing in the show he could have died. This is one of the biggest and dumbest plot holes in MCU history, and Marvel continues to prove it.
I could You know that Tony Stark's sacrifice is a logical plot hole in Marvel's continuity? In Infinity War, Doctor Strange reviewed over 14 million possible outcomes and declared there was only one way to defeat Thanos. This necessitated Tony's death. However, a detail in the Doctor Strange movie raises a serious question about the accuracy of this prophecy. The Ancient One, Strange's predecessor, once explained that even with the Time Stone, she could not see the future past her own death. If Strange, who was less experienced than the Ancient One, was subject to the same limitation, then his ability to see the entire 14 million outcomes is impossible. This leads to a suspect conclusion. When Strange was reviewing the futures, he may have unknowingly omitted or excluded any scenario where he himself died. If Doctor Strange died in any given scenario, he wouldn't have been able to relay it. This implies there could have been hundreds, even thousands of different outcomes where the Avengers still defeated Thanos without Tony Stark's sacrifice. But they weren't seen by Strange because he had become a casualty. Strange's decision, therefore, may have been a limited choice, not the absolute truth. Did you know that Tony Stark's sacrifice is a logical plot hole in Marvel's continuity? In Infinity War, Doctor Strange reviewed over